Hey everyone, this is Anshu Jain and you are tuned in to Fluxx Talks. Well, today I have with me Matt Jolly, the CEO of RTN Diagnostics, a leader dedicated to transforming the way we understand and support neurodiversity, particularly around ADHD and autism diagnosis and support services. And we will explore his journey, what inspired him to take the helm, the challenges he faced, and the purpose that drives him to make a real difference in people's life. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Angie.
Well, to begin with, I would want to understand, what does RTN stand for?
So originally, RTN stood for Recoveries Through Nature. So our founding CEO, after a long career working in the city, wanted to do something to help people. But over the years, it's evolved, and actually we redefined it recently as our core values for the business. So our core values are respect, trust, and nurture. So that's very reflective for the work that we do, both internally, respecting our colleagues, but also helping to nurture people and improve their lives.
I understand. But how was your company formed?
Yeah, so it was started back in 2019 by our founding CEO. And the original business, Recoveries Through Nature, didn't really take off the way that we'd hoped. And it was through talking to a professor in the healthcare industry who was telling us about the need for diagnostic assessments for autism and ADHD that we developed those pathways. And then the rest is history. So now we receive somewhere around 90 to 100 new patients every day. So there's huge demand for our services, and we've grown significantly since we first started.
What was your calling to get into this?
So it was actually very personal for me. So my children and my family went through a very difficult time about 3 years ago in 2022. So one of my kids in particular was suffering with some mental health challenges. He couldn't attend school, he couldn't leave the house, he was having panic attacks, and we tried to access services through the public health system, the NHS in the UK. We tried to get help through the school, through the doctor, and we just got told you just have to go on a waiting list, and you might be waiting 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So we actually sought help through RTN, who are a private provider at the time, and they ended up doing assessments for all three of my children and myself as well. So all three of my children are diagnosed as autistic and ADHD. So through that process, I met our founding CEO, and we got on and started to talk, and I could see that I could bring a lot of value and help the business to grow. Plus, through my own experience, it was something that was really important to me, seeing the challenges and the difficulties that my children went through. I saw an opportunity to be able to help other people going through a similar situation. So I'm very blessed that it's a real passion project for me, but at the same time, I've been able to really innovate and make a mark for RTN in the healthcare industry as well.
How challenging was that phase?
It was, so when we went through that as a family, it was extremely challenging. I mean, some context for us as a family, we weren't getting proper sleep. One of the children was having mental health difficulties. And the changes that we had to make were quite significant. So our children are all now homeschooled because their needs can't be met at school. And so when I moved into the business, I'd come from a place of lived experience. So for me, that guiding light is, how would I want me or my family to be treated if they were coming to RTN as a patient? So we've really developed our services so that people feel heard, supported, looked after all the way through that process, as well as sort of trying to increase the speed and the efficiency so people can access the help that they need and not be left waiting for 3 years, 4 years, up to 10 years in the UK. People are waiting at the moment to access the services we offer.
Can I ask a bit of a personal question?
Of course.
Being autistic, how has it impacted your life?
Yeah,
And in
so
what ways?
I was only diagnosed in 2024, so only last year. So I didn't know I was autistic for most of my life. And it's had both a positive and a negative effect. So from a professional point of view, I've always had incredible attention to detail. I physically can't leave things unfinished either. So I will always be very dogged and determined and making sure that I achieve what I plan to achieve, sometimes to my own detriment of my own well-being. So I've always performed very well professionally, but then the negative side is I've always felt different, particularly as a leader. A lot of leaders are quite confident, dominant, they will sort of control and command their teams and, have that sort of real stereotypical personality of a leader. Huh?
You have it all.
Yeah, do I? But I mean, I always felt quite different because I'm always very compassionate. And for me, it's about supporting the team and making sure that everybody is achieving and growing and happy. And I'd say I was quite humble, although saying that, it doesn't sound very humble. But for me, it's not about the power or the money. It's about delivering an impact for people and helping people. And that includes all of my team as well. And for a long time, I struggled with that because I felt I wasn't maybe not cut out to be a leader because I wasn't the typical sort of business leader. But actually, I found that that's what sets me apart because I bring that compassion and that care.
You were made to stand out and not be a part of the group, right?
Exactly.
Tell me something. Did you find it challenging growing up? Or did you face any emotional challenges?
Yeah, definitely. So I always felt different. One of the things that I experienced through being autistic is I find it very difficult to identify, recognize, talk about emotions. So that can be very isolating. And it's not
Elaborate.
just... So for me, like emotions, I feel very physically. So if I'm dysregulated or upset, I know that I don't feel right and I physically don't feel right, but I might not be able to identify why or communicate to you what I'm feeling. So I might be stressed or sad or angry, but all I know is I don't feel right. So that was always very challenging. And then social situations, I think one of my strengths, but it can also be a weakness, is I don't just accept the accepted. I'll always want to understand and challenge and form my own opinion. And sometimes that opinion is very different to the accepted norm. So it comes across as a bit different. And also the, social situations can be challenging. If there's a lot of people, a lot of noise, a lot of talking, and sometimes I like to take the time to process and understand things in more detail. So in a social situation, that can become a bit uncomfortable as well.
Do you experience love, pain?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Do you feel?
But
do you
it's
replicate?
But for me, it's hard to know how other people experience love or pain. But for me, it's I suspect it's a more intense physical feeling. So maybe hard to describe. But that's, one of the common traits of autism is a deep sense of empathy and justice. And so,
Do you feel?
Say again.
Do you understand? Do you feel? Are you able to
Yes.
contemplate those feelings?
Yes,
Realize?
yes. So that feeling of empathy, and that sort of feeds into my leadership style of being compassionate and caring. And if one of my team is not, I'm very sensitive to if my team are happy or stressed or anxious or unhappy, and so I will always sort of try and seek harmony amongst my team to make sure that everybody feels heard and invested in the business. And so I do, I understand what these emotions are, but from my perspective, I don't always necessarily know what I'm feeling or why I'm feeling it. But I think from a leadership perspective, it creates a very collaborative team and very person-centered. So it's not just about the staff achieving what they need to achieve from a professional standpoint. It's making sure that they feel supported and like they can grow and develop in their own roles, and that they appreciate work and they understand what impact they're having. So it's a very different approach to the traditional sort of command and control hierarchy of a medium to large size business.
Do you experience mood swings? Or do you have mood swings?
I wouldn't describe them as mood swings, but there's a lot of talk in the neurodiverse community about dysregulation, and that can come from sensory stimuli, or it can come from physical dysregulation or emotional dysregulation. And so often I think one of the challenges for neurodiverse people is learning how to manage your dysregulation. And the first step is to actually identify it, that I don't feel right, I feel dysregulated. And then learning the ways that will help you to manage that dysregulation, because otherwise it can come out in quite negative ways. So maybe anger or stress or emotions that particularly in the workplace might be unhelpful, or they might be unhealthy for you as the individual as well. So, and I think that's one of the challenges that all neurodiverse people face, is understanding what triggers their dysregulation and how to manage that in the world, really. And whether it's too much noise, too much light, it can even be things like smells or things like that can trigger people.
How do you manage or regulate your emotions in that scenario?
Yeah, so for me, I am a big advocate of spiritual well-being. So meditation, spending time in nature, breathing exercises. For me, that just really helps me stay calm and centered, which can be challenging in a busy world where everyone's under stress and pressure and you want to achieve, and but it's really important for me to take those breaks, and it can just be short breaks throughout the day, just to breathe and clear your mind a bit, rather than getting stuck in the stress or pressure.
What support do you expect from the people around?
So I think it comes back to our core values, and in particular respect. It's respecting other people's needs, and I do a lot of work with my senior team around communication, and actually encourage them to speak with each other and understand what each other's expectations are, how they like to communicate, things that they don't like, so that we can be inclusive and respectful of other people, and support and nurture each other, rather than, I think it's too easy to go into business and it can become between colleagues competitive, or There can be sort of negative politics going on behind the scenes, whereas I think taking that time to actually communicate and say, so how do you like to communicate? Do you want me to pick up the phone to you? Do you want me to email you? Does it bother you if I contact you out of hours? Or, do you switch your phone off at the end of the day? Just understanding those simple things can make a big difference in, having that trust and respect and feeling safe to communicate with your colleagues.
What do you believe has really supported you along this journey, or who?
Yeah, so I mean, at RTN, all of my senior team are incredibly supportive, and our founding CEO and our other founding director, plus my operations director, all of whom have actually been in the business longer than I have. But we work very much as a team, and there is a lot of trust and friendship as well, and I think that's really helped. Going from a startup business to scaling up to now being a medium-sized business, it wasn't easy all the time. We went through a very difficult time from a cash flow perspective because we were transitioning from a small business to a bigger business. And that's very stressful, and and it starts to affect you personally. And we even at one point we had to pay the staff late, so we had to call all the staff in and tell them that their wages were going to be paid late, and that's not a pleasant thing. It's not something anyone would want to do. But we've come out the other side, and now we've grown tenfold in the space of a couple of years.
I would want to understand more. What all services do you offer, and why RTN? Why this name?
Yeah, so the services that we offer is we started by doing autism and ADHD diagnostic assessments, and that really initially came from the demand. So in the UK, it's hard to get exact numbers, but there is at least 500,000 people waiting for assessments, and people are waiting anything from a year to 10 years to access those services. But that is just a small piece of the puzzle. The knock-on effect of people having to wait multiple years for a diagnostic assessment means that they don't understand their condition, they can't access the support that they need, and then that leads to a whole host of other challenges. So the neurodiverse community experience poorer educational outcomes, higher rates of unemployment, higher rates of mental health conditions, higher rates of entering the criminal justice system. And all of these things, apart from the challenges that the individual faces, these things all have a knock-on effect for the public services, the cost of people going into mental health care, the cost of people being unemployed, the cost of people going into prison. So it's very far-reaching, and sadly it even extends to suicide. The rates of suicide amongst the neurodiverse community are significantly higher than the neurotypical population, and a lot of that stems from people not being able to access the care. The feedback that we get from a lot of our patients is that the diagnostic assessment is very much a journey of self-discovery and understanding why you are a certain way, and that whilst everybody is unique, that you're not less than or even different. You just, yeah, yeah. And like being autistic, for example, is my brain just processes things in a different way to somebody who's not autistic, and often that can deliver significant advantage because you can innovate, you can challenge, you can question the way things are done, rather than a lot of people might just accept, oh, this is the way it's always been done, so we'll just do it that way.
You analysed, you learned about it quite late. It is in the year 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe had you known about it a bit earlier, it would have helped you a little better?
Yes, absolutely. I think probably the biggest thing is I would have been kinder to myself. So I'd say I spent the first 40 years of my life either with low self-esteem or beating myself up for, being different or less than other people, because I just didn't seem to fit in with most people.
It was right from birth, or you developed it later?
So neurodevelopmental conditions it's because it's not a disease or even a condition, you could argue it's not. It's just a different makeup of the brain. So you're born with it. But if you're unaware of it, it can lead quite easily to things like mental health challenges, and all of the things that I've described. So it's there's a lot of talk about terminology for neurodiversity. So some people don't like the term autism spectrum disorder, which is a clinical term. So whilst we might use that in a report because it's a clinical diagnosis, I understand that people don't like the term disorder because it makes it sound like there's something wrong with you. Whereas actually there's nothing wrong with you. You've just got a different type of brain to somebody who's not autistic.
Emotional. The most important or the most common disorder these days is the emotional disorder.
Yeah.
Every single person in the world is going through one or the other thing.
Yeah.
Right, again?
Yeah.
It is impacting their mental health. Depression, anxiety has become such common terms in people's lives, and that you cannot ignore, right? So it's just that we develop it at times that we can say that yes, it's a phase, but then if it keeps going after a certain point in time, it shows results that you cannot expect, that you have never expected, right? Well, it has been such a fascinating experience learning about your journey, the phenomenal work that you've been doing. I would want to exactly understand that what all services does RTN offer?
Yeah, so from the diagnostic services, we now also offer medical treatment for ADHD because there's an effective medication that significantly helps people with ADHD. We also offer therapeutic services, so things like cognitive behavioural therapy or PACT, which is parents of autistic children therapy. I think I've got that the wrong way around. But so we offer different therapeutic treatments. But what we're really aiming for is to provide a really holistic approach to neurodiversity, but also mental health in a broader sense. And one of the problems in the UK with the public health system is the NHS is very fragmented. So there's different departments, different teams, different trusts, different commissioners, and then the funding and the budgets are for specific services. So a commissioner might have a budget for ADHD assessments, but actually that patient might need help from the mental health team, or they might need help from the physical health team, and they don't join up. So what RTN is working towards doing is providing that front door where you can come in and say, I'm having trouble, I'm struggling with life. Exactly. And we can get to know that patient and carry out some screening and triage and give them a much more holistic plan to help them improve their experience in life.
Definitely. I'm pretty sure that you guys are doing a phenomenal work and you're helping so many around. This is such a noble cause, you know. You have converted your pain into your power, the challenges into the opportunities, and of course we can see the strength, and I wish you all the luck. All the very, very best for the phenomenal work that you're doing, and you're extraordinary. Believe me, very few people that I come across, I feel, were able to speak so clearly with so much of authenticity, credibility, and being so honest.
That means a lot.
Such a delight having you over. And again, now you're going to be a proud recipient of Healthcare Innovation in Autism and ADHD, the Fluxx Global Award. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, so I feel very humbled, and I feel in some ways I don't feel deserving because of my team is so incredible, and I think we've got around 90 staff currently, and I couldn't have done any of it without them. But for me, it's incredibly rewarding because my whole experience with RTN came from wanting to help my kids. And that's the biggest thing for me, is I want to be able to make a difference so that the world my kids grow up into, but also other families and children, that they can access the help they need, that they can make the most out of their lives, and that they don't have to go through their life feeling different or less, or, you know. So I'm very delighted to be here. I'm very humbled, you know.
So are we? We're excited to have you here with us. All right. Final question before we conclude.
Yeah.
One piece of advice for the neurodivergent community that you would want to deliver?
That's a great question. So being neurodiverse comes with challenges, but it can also come with strengths and benefits. So I would encourage you to seek the help that you need for the areas of challenge, but to recognize and embrace your own unique strengths. Through doing that, I've now become the CEO of a very successful healthcare company. By accessing the help that you need, it will enable you to harness the strengths and achieve great things.
Thank you so very much for being authentic, for being credible, for being honest, and sharing so much of your life experiences here with us. I'm certain it is going to help many along their journey. Thank you. Pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
But to all you wonderful people, if you enjoyed this conversation, don't you forget to connect with us on our social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, Fluxx Talks, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Fluxx Talks. Most importantly, take very good care of yourself. Be kind, be gentle with yourself and the people around you. Thank you. Take care.